Hey everyone, you got Marcel. Been a day or two since I last made a video. Odd stuff been going on. Figured it was about time to come out of hibernation. Short answer for my absence is I've been shuffling things around in my life to make the pieces meet. And honestly, to make videos, I need to be in the right mindset. Because if my head is off, then I'm not going to produce the kind of content or at least the level of quality that I want to be represented by. I envy those who can crank out awesome stuff daily. I'm not one of them, though it is something I eventually aspire to become. So for today, I want to talk about why men chase women. Freaking thirsty guys running all over the place, making things harder for themselves, and in some cases harder for everybody. I think the automatic assumption that pretty much everybody's gonna have is they want to get laid. And in a lot of cases, that's true. So you may be wondering what I could possibly add to that conversation. But I found psychologically that men are painted with the same brush. If a guy is interested or talking to a woman, it's pretty much universally assumed that he's trying to get laid. And that's kind of a given in today's society. What got me thinking about this comes from my past and my history and the mistakes that I've made in dating. You see, despite the different girlfriends that I had, and the ways that I tried keeping the relationships going, sustaining them, I always found myself somewhat unfulfilled. There was a period of time in my discovery, my journey through MGTOW, that I actually thought at one point that I may have been acting hypergamous. And as I dove deeper into it, in fact, come to think of it, I believe I even published a video. I don't know if I made it public or not on the concept. Nonetheless, I thought I was almost acting hypergamous, like I was monkey branching between women. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized, well, for one, most of the women I was ending up with turned out to be toxic. And they were coming from all different walks of life, different cultures, even different continents. And it wasn't making any difference. Of course, the first argument to that would be it's my own taste in women, right? But I really didn't have a solid taste in either attitude or personality, physique, body type. It's not that I was desperate, I just didn't judge people very harshly. I was really open-minded and willing to date a variety of different women. Though as many might appreciate, dating in of itself can be a pretty consuming thing. The idea of going out, meeting new people, getting romantically entwined with them, it can be kind of addictive. Sure, the concept of getting laid and all of that was a catalyst for what I was doing. Wanting to be in a relationship was part of it as well. But what was my real motivation? Now, some may be already typing that the reasons why my relationships went toxic was because of my attitude, that I was bringing the toxicity. I usually fell into the category of nice, and that put me into some situations where I would wind up with people that would take advantage of me. I'm sure that played a part in it. My goals were the same as anybody else's. Avoid toxicity, make the relationship last, and have as good a time as possible, including the bedroom, I suppose. So I really doubt that I was bringing that much toxicity into it, but that's really a topic for another video. What I'm trying to get at here is my drive for doing any of it in the first place. For years, I have asked my friends and colleagues at some point, because I'm brave like that, I guess, when they've gotten engaged or married, I've looked at them and said, well, why? Even just saddling up in serious relationships or bragging about how they've hooked up with this chick or, whatever the case may be, anything to do with romance and dating portrayed as this big accomplishment, I've asked them. Why? Out of sheer curiosity, why does that matter? Why does it make a difference? I've gotten some pretty shocked expressions, especially when asking them why they got married. Knocking that down a scale, though, I reflected on myself. Why did I really date? Did I do it because societally I was expected to go hook up with people? Or specifically women? Was it really just my sex drive pushing me to hook up with the opposite gender? And lately, the more I reflect on it, I don't think I was. I found a lot of my experiences and relationships pretty much unfulfilling regardless of whether or not I got laid. Which, doing some simple math in my memory, puts it about 20% of the time that I actually got laid, because I wasn't pushing really hard for it. I was looking for something and not finding it. We've all heard the silly example of, why buy the cow when you could get the milk for free? People use that analogy a lot when referring to getting laid and dating and stuff. I would kind of adapt that simple analogy to be like, well, why'd the farmer really buy the cow? Why does he want the cow? Is it for the milk? Is it for the calf? Maybe to work the field. Hell, even transportation. Everybody assumes that it's the milk. Not literally, of course, but for the sake of the analogy. So what am I getting at with all of this? I believe that our ideology, that MGTOW in of itself, is a better fit for most people than they realize. Of course, I'm primarily speaking to men, but in a lot of ways it's being presented as something basically the opposition to a pickup artist. The assumption is that most guys are out there trying to get laid, and therefore MGTOW is preventing them from getting hurt or giving them a better path, right? But a lot of men aren't out there trying to get laid. They're actually a lot more deep and complex than people are giving them credit for. And there's other incentives other than, just making babies and getting laid and starting a family that might be at play that are keeping men in the plantation. And in a lot of ways, saddling them up with toxic people, toxic women that aren't doing them any good. Let me try to clarify my thoughts. I enjoy studying people, and I like learning about them on a personal level. And I think that in my younger mind, that was part of the reason why I was dating. It's just one of them, of course. I'll get into others here in a minute, but that in of itself explains why I would be dating, but not deeply emotionally attached to the woman that I was with or dating at the time, and why I was willing to date such a variety without putting a lot of stock into quality. Not to say that I was heartless. I mean, I did care about them, obviously. I invested years of my life with some of these people, but at the same time, at least initially, I was driven with curiosity more than anything. And it led to more in its own way. So why only women then? It's really difficult for two guys to have an emotional connection and really learn about each other without it throwing some mixed signals. So it would make sense that I would make a lot of those deep connections with women. Another example as to why my motives were more complex than their surface values. And to be fair, this might make me look a little bit like an asshole, but I'm talking about a very young me. Not that I give a shit if people think I'm an asshole, it doesn't matter. But for clarity, going back even further into my youth, my confidence was broken down pretty hard. Between the teasing that I got in school, the way I was treated, my home life, all this stuff piled up on me and made it for a very, kind of a broken mindset. I felt like crap. And for me to get someone, a girl specifically, to come up and say, wow, Marcel, you're pretty darn cool. We should hook up. Or, yeah, I'll go out with you. That'd be awesome. It was a confidence boost. It was an accomplishment. To receive that validation that we talk about quite a bit in our community became kind of a rush, and that in of itself is also really addictive. So what do I do once I've already received that? Once she said, yeah, I validate you, you're awesome, I want to be in a relationship with you. Well, at that point I kind of lost interest. Talking about the younger me still, nonetheless, I would start already looking for ways to move on for my next hit, the next challenge, the next step up in the social ladder that I could find to say, hey, I hooked up with that girl. Honestly though, I never really bragged about anything I was doing. It was all self-reflection. I was a very internal snake. By that I mean I would look a lot at my own psychology, and pretty obvious with the way I talk and think nowadays too though. To kind of summarize what I'm getting at with all of this, I think one of the reasons why red pill knowledge isn't spreading as quickly as it could be is that it may be being presented currently as a save yourself, don't get laid kind of movement. And although that might apply to some men, some people, in reality, guys have a lot of different motives for wanting to hook up with women, and they'll discard the entire concept of MGTOW without realizing how much it actually applies to them. Throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Of course, not referring to the previous concept as being bathwater, just that it doesn't apply to everyone. So as a final thought, I ask the question, why did you date? If you did, if you were interested in it at all, what drove you to go chase women, to date women, to be with people in general? Though I commend those with the self-awareness to say that it was literally just chasing tail, there are those times when we really are. My guess is we're pretty much all a lot more complex than society gives us credit for. Furthermore, if it turns out to not actually be a goal or a drive leading directly to the arms of a woman, specifically in the sense of having a relationship or otherwise, then why are we pursuing it? Or why did we? See, the way I figure it nowadays, since the whole concept of a white picket fence and happy family is pretty rare and doesn't tend to last, hopping bar to bar and hooking up randomly is really risky, and getting too close is risky, then that basically leaves goals for self-validation through women, the thrill of the chase, if you'll excuse the term, maybe even learning more about ourselves in the idea of dating. But I did that. I did that for an extremely long time and was left completely unfulfilled, because in the end, you can't fix problems within yourself through other people. You have to fix them internally. You have to recognize your own accomplishments. We are not defined by how well we date or by how much women appreciate us. No worth basically on our own merit, not reflected back at us through the eyes of some self-centered brunette. Self-reflection is a remarkable tool, and that leads almost directly into my next video that I'm going to be making. It's on psychology and the way that psychologists are helping or hindering people nowadays. I'm working on it now. It should be ready in a day or two. Now, hopefully that wasn't too rusty. I'm going to try to be back more. Obviously, no promises, but I greatly appreciate all of you that are still there and still listening. You guys make the difference. Thank you. You're the greatest hope we have for pulling out of this mess. If you want to hear more of my content, subscribe, share, like. Hopefully I'll see you again soon. This has been Marcel.